Okay, brilliant. Everyone is incredibly busy, so let's get going. We are going to record this and we'll share the link. So if anyone then wants to send it on to colleagues or rewatch it back because they need to drop early, totally fine. You can always pose questions as well throughout. We're going to try and leave at least a couple of minutes at the end to answer any questions. Again, can therefore do that live, can also do it on follow-up via email as well. So thank you for joining. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Thomas McKenna, co-founder and CEO at Ocular. And we're going to spend the next 15-20 minutes talking about AEO and GEO. Simply put, it changes everything. There's no getting away from the fact that the search landscape is transforming before our very eyes. We'll talk about the exponential growth that it's seeing, and that can be scary and overwhelming. If you're sat there, e-commerce is already hard enough without suddenly needing to potentially pivot and do a whole load of new activities. But at the same time, the reward for the people that get ahead on AEO and GEO and are set up for success in their data, their structure, their reviews, all of the things we'll talk about, that first mover advantage is going to be critical. So actually not doing anything isn't standing still, because in 2 or 3 years, it'll actually be going backwards and potentially becoming obsolete. So it's like 10, 20 years ago, having a head start on Google and SEO and best practice, it's the area to spend time. And we're going to show you a little bit about the R&D we've done in the area. What have we learned? What are we seeing working really well that hopefully you can take away really practical things that we can change on websites. So the starting point. So 10 years ago, the biggest challenge pretty much everyone on this call would face was how do you get Google to notice you? Today, it's about how do you convince AI to recommend you and not one of your competitors. So just a potted history. SEO, the search era. In the early days, the goal was simple. Get seen on Google. So pack your pages with the right keywords and tags so that you appear on page 1 when someone types in best read trainers. So an analogy is, SEO was like shouting the loudest in a crowded market so that customers notice your store. That was SEO. The goal is to be visible. AEO is the answer era. So this is zero-click searches. So people are starting to ask, what's the best type of shoe for marathon training? And that's when something like ChatGPT or Gemini comes in and gives the answer. Not a page full of links for the customer to then go and do their own research. It's giving them a very straightforward recommendation answer there. Again, on the analogy, AEO is like teaching your brand to be the one that the shopper assistant would mention when the shopper's saying which one's the best out of these. So in the old world, this is the one I can recommend, having worked here or done my research. And then we've got GEO, which is almost the true AI era. So in this world, shoppers don't even search. They just converse with AI. What should I pack for my ski trip? Find me eco-friendly shoes. At that point, the AI is going off, gathering info, comparing brands and recommending. In that world, it's very often skipping Google entirely from there. So GEO, again, in the analogy, it's like becoming the product that the personal shopper we're all going to have is the AI's best friend that keeps being suggested quietly but powerfully. So SEO gets you on the shelf, AEO gets you in the conversation, GEO will get you directly into the cart and beyond. So that's a bit of background on them. In terms of why they matter. So what we're seeing is the beginning of a fundamental shift in how people search and find products and services online. So in the past year, AI chat tools have quietly become the new homepage for millions of people. Instead of opening a browser and typing into Google, people will open ChatGPT or Perplexity and ask the question there. And hundreds of millions of people every single week are using these tools. And when something's become the second most Googled term of the year, we know it's hit mainstream culture. It's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's growing exponentially. And then the really interesting part then is what's happening to Google. So for the first time in decades, Google traffic is actually declining, nearly 8% down since ChatGPT was released. And if we look at things like Gartner, it's just the beginning. So by next year, traditional search volume could drop by up to a quarter in established markets as AI tools start to take over. So huge signals everywhere we look that consumer habits are changing. So people are still searching, They still are trying to find the product and service you offer, but the where and the how they search is changing fast. So at the same time, even within Google, fewer people are actually clicking through to your websites because an AI-powered summary and overviews will give them the answer they often need instantly. So blog posts, content marketing, so things like product guides, user manuals, they will want really reliable drivers of engagement and revenue. They're going to now see a decline in the clicks they were built to attract because it's the AI themselves who's then passing that and leveraging it to give their own answer in a zero-click environment for the customer. So as of April 2025, 60% of Google searches ended without a single click happening. So for brands that rely on Google for traffic, that's going to become a major challenge. So again, now's the time to rethink, how do we create the content? How do we get discovered? And how do we drive conversions in this AI first landscape? Just to close, before we move to the playbook, what should we do? We're seeing the emergence now of truly agentic commerce. So suddenly we have tools. If everyone saw ChatGPT Atlas come out, it doesn't just answer questions. It can actually complete an entire transaction on a customer's behalf. So it can research products, compare options, add items to cart, book flights, hotels, even make the purchase without a human in the loop. So for brands, all of those things combined is a game changer. So the new area of AI, the new era of AI is alarming. The key is to act now. First mover advantage is everything. So how do we win? There's lots of emerging studies and research about what does good look like. There is no silver bullet. There is no do these 5 things and you will appear in ChatGPT. And if anyone agency or anyone tells you that they can do that immediately, run a mile. It's a really complicated picture because these are probabilistic models. So not everyone, even the people who build them, know exactly how exactly to get to the very top and into recommendations. But there's emerging evidence from the likes of Princeton and Georgia Tech about what we need to be doing. So the 4 things we've really picked up on and honed in on, built into our AI, and we'd also encourage you to look at on your own sites. Number 1, structure content logically. We'll do a deep dive on what each of these means, by the way. Second is be explicit about the use cases your product or service solves for and offers. Make sure you incorporate trust signals. And then this 4th one is logical, but is really tricky and something that needs to be worked on, is master a standalone sentence. And we'll bring that to life again when we get to that one. So first up is structure content logically. So there's research from University of California that found pages that have got clear headers and dividers with a logical hierarchy are 42% more likely to be cited by AI. So that means those headings that we were previously generating, they're not just for humans to easily break up text and to help with engagement. They're critical for AI. So sections like description, key features, technical specs, things we love, what other people think, all of those is exactly what AI is looking for, so that it has clear, understandable information that it can easily parse. So within each of those sections, again, you're aiming to be specific and brief. So aim for a mix of short paragraphs, 2 to 4 sentences each, along with bullet points. That makes it easier, yes, for humans, but also for AI to scan, or in their language, pass through the data to understand and ultimately, ideally, cite your product and your content. So just in the image on screen, you can see a real example, created by Ocular Copywriter that starts to do just that, very clearly laying out the sections and sticking to the formats that are ideal in terms of layout of paragraphs and bullet points. So that's content. Next up is to specify use cases. So search is now a conversation. People are not typing 3-word queries as much anymore. They're going to ask long, specific questions, often with 10 words or more. So here's an example that we can see. So the key for a brand and retailer is to think about how are customers asking questions that might relate to the product and service that I offer, and how can I answer those questions explicitly by stating who is the product that I sell or service or offering for, and why is it a great fit? So you're looking to match and use the same type of language that customers are using, which just again makes the AI's life easier to understand how your product and service could match up with exactly the type of query that's coming in. So again, this is a real example of how a product description can be crafted to answer a shopper's conversational query. So what you can see is the description starts to directly mirror the type of customer language that will be used to address specific needs, exactly what an AI tool is looking for. So not just listing features and benefits. That's the old world. It's straightforward. It's the way that we always used to create copy about products, services, properties, etc. But actually genuinely thinking about the use cases and the conversational terms that we're trying to be matched for in the way that we write about what we sell. Third up then, we've got trust signals. So trust matters, unsurprisingly, in a world of AI. So large language models prefer products that appear reliable and credible. They're trying to make sure that they can do the best possible job for their user as well. So research indicates that if you get trust signals in there, you can increase AI search visibility by 35%. So what does this mean? So be specific about things such as your product's composition and materials, any certifications you've got, any warranties, any ingredients list, food and beauty, any awards that you've won. And don't forget, make sure having a clear, up-to-date FAQ and that level of detail will help both humans and AI make sure your product or offering is seen as trustworthy and an authority in the area. And then last but not least, we've got standalone sentences. So AI engines answer queries. They often pull out a single sentence from your content when doing so. That means that every single sentence that you put onto your website should make sense on its own without relying on the surrounding text. So a really good example of this, you can see, a good sentence is at £1.2, this camping stove fits in a backpack side pocket and can be set up in under 3 minutes. Everything about that product is clear. If that was taken through onto Google, etc., onto ChatGPT, the user knows exactly what they're potentially purchasing or engaging with. A bad sentence would be anything imprecise or vague. It's lightweight and easy to use. That doesn't tell the human or the AI anything, and actually can hurt you because it comes across as generic and lacks that authority that we're looking for with an LLM. So we've got another example. Again, just if we look at the way we need to speak about ourselves, Copyright by Ocular, good version, generates product descriptions, optimized for AI search, clear, specific, complete. A bad version would be, it does this at scale and keeps everything at brand. AI won't know what it is or what everything means. It's too broad for it to be able to parse easily. So again, there's another example on there. By the way, we don't just do descriptions, we do titles, we do metadata, we do long form, etc. in there as well. And then it's beyond product or listing pages. So you need to look beyond those. AI engines don't just read the product or listing page. They pull information from over the web. So the more your product and service and offering is mentioned across platforms, the better your chance of being surfaced in AI search. So real customer experiences are especially powerful. So Reddit has been reborn. So Reddit leads AI citations at 40% and mentions in ChatGPT spiked to 87% in July alone this year. So it's a really powerful knowledge base to be part of, to then become part of the conversation through the other search tools. And then if we think of things like tutorials, guides, unboxing videos, the type of content you might create to then put on YouTube or TikTok, again, can get picked up in these AI summaries and increase visibility. So that more holistic place for original, unique, deep content is so important for the engines to then recommend you versus competitors. And still, the likes of blog guest posts, theme lists that use seasonal keywords, all of those, they might not get the direct clicks themselves, but they'll get you into the conversation in the AEO and GEO space. So, as I said at the start, no one has got all the answers. LLM providers themselves don't publish an exact playbook of this is how you get found and purchased by them and other agents, because it's complex, it's multidimensional, and they often, because it's probabilistic, don't know exactly themselves. So if anyone says, I'll get you to the top of ChatGPT, as I say, run a mile. They're probably not the vendor that you want to partner with. But at Ocular, we're pouring R&D time and energy into this. So looking at what's the emerging evidence, how can our copywriter factor it into everything it generates to make what we do better every single day? And we're doing this at scale with really, really strong results. So with 4 minutes left at the end, if that does sound like something that you just want to discuss more, some of the research we've done, findings, anything like that, book a call, book a demo, more than happy to, because I hope that's been helpful. Because hopefully by doing this, learning it, updating sites, content, we can all be winners in the new search landscape. That's our goal, to make people better and the front runners in the new world. So we'll close there. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully we wanted it to be pragmatic, useful, specific. Any feedback we'd love. Drop us an email or a LinkedIn message. Thank you. We'll share the link. And if you'd like to speak at any time, just let us know. But yeah, have a great rest of Thursday.